Welcome back to the Ball Oasis show. Um, a little bit schedule thrown off a little bit because of the festivities of the weekend, but nevertheless, this episode will be out on Sunday, like it is originally supposed to be. We're recording it on Sunday afternoon, so it'll be up almost immediately after we record. Um, we ended last episode saying that there will probably be some big things go on, and man, were we not disappointed.
Right.
Just crazy headlines throughout the day. Thursday was the big day. Friday came with some big hitters as well. Man, starting out, we have to start out with the elephant in the room like we always do. Kevin Durant formally requests a trade from the Brooklyn Nets.
Yep.
And we thought early last week that this might be a possibility, but it seemed like after Kyrie Irving came out and said that he's taking his player option, that he would be loyal to Brooklyn. We said that on this show.
Yeah.
Well, I said it at least.
Yeah.
But Kevin comes out and says, "Hey, I want to go," and so that just starts a whole nother chain reaction of things. Kyrie Irving back involved in trade talks as well.
Right.
They say that they don't want to move Ben Simmons, but
I think everybody's available.
Yeah, I feel like it's a whole house cleaning a whole thing going on over there. So Jacob, what were your initial reactions to that headline?
I was surprised about it, but he just signed that contract. I believe it was last year. I think, and they wanted to play together. And I think he didn't say anything with the whole Kyrie, wanting to opt out or get traded situation going on. And then finally, when Kyrie opted in, I think it was like the next day, and KD kind of just requested a trade. But I was shocked about it. But I have no idea, if it'll even happen. I really don't think it'll happen. It just depends on how much a team wants to give up, I guess.
You still don't think it will?
I don't think so. I don't think a team will give up that much. Now, maybe, but it just depends, I guess.
Yeah. And it came out that the teams at the top of his list are the Phoenix Suns and the Miami Heat, along with several others.
Right.
But he wants to go to a place where he can get right in the action and compete for a championship. He's got no time to waste. And it's also said that him and Kyrie still have interest in playing together, if that is at all possible. Probably not on a contending team. So I doubt that happens. But I kind of wanted to go over our top 3 potential landing spots for Kevin Durant. And I'll go first. I guess my third one is the one that's probably been talked about the most. That's the Phoenix Suns.
Right.
They wouldn't have to give up Chris Paul. They just re-signed Devin Booker to a massive 4-year deal. I'll give more thoughts on that later in the show. But they've got DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton is a centerpiece to a trade. For a guy of Kevin Durant's caliber, you probably have to throw in Mikal Bridges as well, as much as that might hurt.
Right.
Jay Crowder might have to be moved too, or Cam Johnson, along with a myriad of picks. That's just what it'll have to be. And also, I don't think a Kevin Durant trade will just be a straight up one-team trade for one team. It'll at least be 3 or 4 teams involved, in my opinion.
That's what I've heard too.
But yeah, the Phoenix Suns, that's my first landing spot. Just the offensive firepower that would be created with Kevin Durant alongside Devin Booker and Chris Paul. It's crazy to think about. They'd have to fill out the rest of their roster. And they wouldn't have much money to do so. But at the top, that team is very scary.
I think the last 2 days they've signed a few vet minimum players. I think like small contracts, I believe.
Yeah. They let JaVale McGee walk, which in retrospect might have been a mistake.
Yeah.
But I'll go ahead and knock my 3 out of the way. You can knock your 3 out of the way. Right. So my second team is the Miami Heat. It's the Miami Heat. And trade package wise, they're kind of the toughest to gauge because it was reported that if Kevin Durant is sent to Miami, he wants to play with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo.
Yeah.
And if I'm the Brooklyn Nets personally, I'm not taking a deal where Tyler Hero is the centerpiece. Um, that's not me. That's not what I would do personally. But I mean, Miami has a lot of players they can throw. For the money to match, it would be tough. I feel like Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson would have to be involved.
Yeah.
But yeah, trade package wise, that one is kind of sketchy. But the fit with Kevin Durant alongside Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and he says he wants to play with Kyle Lowry too.
Right.
So yeah, they're just in need. They're in need of that scorer, that go-to guy
Right.
that Jimmy Butler has had to be a lot of times, and he can be. He's proven that he can be that. But you know, for a guy who that comes as natural to Kevin as it does for Kevin, would definitely take a big weight off of Jimmy Butler's shoulders and would allow him to be able to focus on the defensive side of the ball more than he probably can whenever he's having to shoulder that load. So
They're right.
I like that fit with Kevin in Miami. That one is probably the least possible, in my opinion, out of the top ones, just because of the trade package.
Yeah, I think they also said that Bam can't get traded to Brooklyn with Ben Simmons being there because
Why is that?
they're both on rookie maxes, and it's a rule that you can't trade for another player on a rookie max. I believe
Oh, okay.
it was something like that. Bam, they'd have to move Ben Simmons first to get Bam if they wanted to. I seen that a few
Interesting.
days. Seen that I think yesterday, maybe Friday. I'm not sure. But
That's news to me.
some rules, something about a rookie extension or max rule. I think that you
Hmm.
can't trade for two players can't be on the team with it, or you can't trade for one. I think something
Yeah,
like that.
that's news to me. I hadn't heard that, but that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So for my number one team, this is not a team that's been brought up a lot in the talks around Kevin Durant,
I think we're thinking
but
the same one.
I think that this team can put together they can put together a feasible package, and I think that Kevin Durant's fit on this team would be um, great. One of his teammates just signed with this team actually, um, and that's the Denver Nuggets.
Really?
I think Kevin Durant to the Denver Nuggets would be, I think that would be scary. And let's talk trade package. So the trade package would probably be centered around Michael Porter Jr., who is Brooklyn willing to take a flyer on him with all the injury history that he's had. That's for them to decide, I guess. Me personally, I think Michael Porter Jr. is a fantastic basketball player. I had him in my preseason picks as an All NBA player going into this season. I had him making All NBA third team before he got injured. Of course, he just signed a big deal, 5-year, over $200 million deal. So the money would match. If they could make that trade without having to give Dejounte Murray, not Dejounte Murray, Jamal Murray,
Yeah,
that 1-2-3 punch would be, man,
scary. Yeah, it'd be scary. Yeah,
that would be pretty crazy.
it would.
But yeah, a deal centered around Michael Porter Jr. Jamal Murray might have to be thrown in there, but just thinking about KD playing next to Jokic, I mean, man, that's insane to think about.
Yeah,
That sold me the most.
That'd be scary. Yeah, I haven't heard
and
anything about that. About even that even be close to getting done.
yeah, no buzz. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
That's what I would love. That's what I would really like to see happen if he is moved.
Yeah. I say my 1 and 2 is basically your 2 and 3. I got Phoenix being number 1. Same package around, 8 picks, few more players. I say 2 would be Miami. It has to be around Hero, Robinson. I doubt Bam will be involved. I doubt they give up Bam.
Yeah.
But my third team, I think this is the last few hours or yesterday in the day, the Toronto Raptors. They have, I think, the second best odds to get him now over Miami.
Yeah.
I believe it was OG Anunoby and I don't think it was Scotty, but might have been Scotty Barnes and some picks or Siakam and picks. It was one of those. But I don't see how that would happen but they're second best in odds. I don't know how close that is, or if they're still talking about it or what. But I just don't know if it would fit well. But they are like second in odds now, though, so it'd be pretty interesting to keep an eye on.
I kind of like that. I kind of like that for the
I like it,
Raptors.
but it's they give up if they have to give up Scotty Barnes, which I mean, yeah, he had a good rookie year. They could develop really well, but and I think OG is was not satisfied with his role, I believe, but so it
Right.
could work out, but I don't know if I just like the pieces they would have to give up, I guess. But
From what I've heard, I'll tell you what I've heard. Scotty Barnes is untouchable.
yeah, so
Scotty
it
Barnes
might
is
have been
untouchable. So it would be Pascal
if
Siakam.
it probably Siakam, yeah.
And if I'm Masai Ujiri, I'm willing to move Pascal
Yeah,
Siakam and OG Anunoby, and if it be like Gary Trent, some picks,
yeah.
I'm willing to do that deal.
And
I'm
then
I'm I'm down for it.
that would that open any cap space if they did that? Or not
I'm sure
much
it
or
wouldn't with Kevin's contract.
okay. I know they signed Otto Porter Jr., but that's like it's not real big signing, I guess.
But yeah,
Yes,
Scotty Barnes alongside KD. I think
that
KD
is
could push Scotty Barnes' development on very quickly with Fred VanVleet in the backcourt. Gary Trent might have to be thrown in the trade, like I said, but
yeah.
Gary Trent would be a good guy to space the floor, shoot the ball. And then the big situation, that's that would just be something if you get Kevin Durant that you might just have to live with.
Yeah.
Precious Achua being your center, which isn't the worst thing in the world. He's a good floor spacer, can block shots. But
Yeah,
they've been
Chris
searching
Boucher
for
is the
that center for a
backup. Yeah.
while.
Chris Boucher is the backup, but I mean that's I don't think he's just a starting center yet, caliber yet.
Right. Well, yeah, Kevin Durant potentially on the move, and it appears as if almost every team in the NBA will be throwing a trade package if they haven't already at the Brooklyn Nets. And rightfully so. Kevin Durant, a generational talent,
Right.
even being at the age he is and coming off the injury that he's come off of. I'm taking a shot at him 100 times out of 100.
Yeah, I think every team's throwing packages together almost.
Yeah. So moving on from Kevin Durant to the trade that happened on Friday afternoon,
Right.
seemingly out of nowhere. And that's Rudy Gobert to the Minnesota Timberwolves
Right.
for Patrick Beverly, Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, Leandro Balmero, Walker Kessler, and four first-round picks. If that's the asking price for Rudy Gobert,
KD is
the asking price for Kevin Durant has to be
it went up.
through the
Yeah.
roof,
It
through
just-
the ceiling,
it
through the
just went up.
rafters.
It just went up a lot.
But man, that trade on Friday, like I said, it came out of nowhere. Jacob, what were your initial reactions to that?
I had to refresh my feed, make sure I had to see it at least 3 times to believe it, but it was because you didn't hear anything about it. You've heard about it a little bit, like would they trade him or Mitchell? But I didn't think they would trade him, especially that package. They got a lot back, and I guess they're in semi-rebuild mode. I guess I think they're full rebuild. They get rid of the trade Donovan Mitchell, but so I guess they're going to try to rebuild around him on the fly. I guess, but I was very shocked about that.
Yeah, and before Friday, Minnesota hadn't been a team mentioned around Rudy Gobert in spheres of the Twitterverse, and NBA insiders hadn't really seen Minnesota as a contender for Rudy Gobert. It had been Toronto and Charlotte and Chicago be like the main 3 teams. So for him to go to Minnesota and play alongside Karl Anthony Towns,
yeah, paint defense.
I'm so interested what that's going to look like, because in today's NBA, where teams tend to go small, especially towards the end of games, Minnesota's lineup is an anomaly. It will be an anomaly on the floor. Defense is something that Minnesota definitely needed, especially on the interior. Just with that young team that they have there, and Rudy Gobert, I think automatically makes them a top 10 defense. That's just what he does.
Right.
And you still have the question of D'Angelo Russell. Russell is still there. And with his current contract situation, it'd probably be best to move him for probably depth,
Yeah, that's what I was
perimeter
thinking.
guys who can defend, since you lost Patrick Beverly and Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt. But who knows? Who knows? That team is going to be a very interesting team to watch next season.
Yeah, I'm really surprised they got him without letting D'Lo go, without trading D'Lo. But they
D'Lo,
did,
D'Lo and Jaden McDaniels. I thought Jaden McDaniels would definitely be thrown in there.
but I feel like now they gave up a lot of their depth though, a lot. So they're gonna have to trade D'Lo for some depth pieces. It probably won't be real good depth pieces, but it might be a few solid role players maybe.
Yeah. I mean, hey, the Timberwolves front office after that trade was made, they were celebrating. Rudy Gobert was their guy, apparently. They think that he was the missing piece to their title contention hopes or whatever.
Yeah.
So they're extremely pleased with the deal. What seems like kind of an overpay for a guy like Rudy Gobert, but
Yeah.
I mean, like we say on this show a lot, we have no idea how players are actually valued in the NBA realm. But
Right.
that was the breaking news on Friday. Along with the trade that was made a few hours earlier, Malcolm Brogdon being moved to the
Right.
Boston Celtics for basically their C team.
Yeah.
Basically dumped all their bench guys to Indiana. But it did help Indiana create a max slot to potentially go after a guy like DeAndre Ayton.
Right.
So I guess that's what their
Thought process
that's what
was.
their plan of action might be going forward. But for the Celtics picking up Malcolm Brogdon, Jacob, how do you like that fit?
I like the fit, but I thought either Marcus Smart or Brogdon would be coming off the bench, but I just did see a lineup that put Horford off the bench, which could work out. I think it was Brogdon at the one, then Smart, Brown, Tatum, and Williams. So pretty small lineup, I think. But I think it could really be good. I think it just kind of depends because they still got the guys they use in the playoffs, like the rotation guys, Derek White, Grant Williams. So without giving those guys up, I think that was a steal almost for them. It's basically a steal anyway. But
here's my theory. With Malcolm Brogdon and Marcus Smart, I think Malcolm Brogdon might come off the bench to start games.
Yeah.
I think he will. But what I think will end up happening is the closing lineup, and I'm a proponent of saying that the closing lineup is far more important than your starting lineup. So I think that the closing lineup will feature both Marcus Smart and Malcolm Brogdon.
Right.
Along with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and if they want to space the floor, Al Horford, if they need that interior defense, Robert Williams. And that closing lineup is scary. Closing lineup would be very scary because Malcolm Brogdon adds yet another defensive component to that team. He's a good playmaker and he can get his own.
Mm-hmm.
A pure point guard is something that Boston has kind of been looking for a while. At this time last year, they thought that they might have found it in Dennis Schroeder. That didn't work out.
Yeah.
You've had guys in the past like Kemba Walker, who had been an all-star, which was a failed experiment. So it'll be interesting to see how Malcolm Brogdon comes in and fits with that team, especially a few days removed after Marcus Smart saying that he can play that point guard role that people have been saying that they need to go after a pure point guard, but Marcus Smart says I can be that guy. And then a few days later, Malcolm Brogdon gets added. So we'll keep a close eye on the Boston Celtics, who are one of the title odds going into next season.
Yeah, the thing, a lot of people say that kind of basically set them for the best odds, I guess. Again, that trade right there. But we have to see what the rest of the offseason brings.
All right. And they still have their $17 million trade exception. Where they could go get a second tier type guy to either sure their interior or do what in the world they want. They also had Danilo Gallinari, who's a guy who can score off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
So Boston Celtics are here to stay.
They are.
they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And they'll be a very fun team to watch again next year.
Yeah, without losing any valuable pieces to players.
Right. So on to what I've been waiting to voice my opinion on this. When this happened on Thursday, originally I was shell shocked. The extensions of Devin Booker and Karl Anthony Towns.
Right.
Now, here's my thing. These are young players, franchise centerpieces on teams that are loyal to them. So from that perspective, I understand the money that they were given. And if you don't know what they were given, they were both given 4-year, $224 million extensions. If you don't know how much money that is over $55 million a season. Pretty crazy if you ask me.
Yeah.
For guys who, I mean, Devin Booker was first team All NBA, but it's not Nikola Jokic. It's not LeBron James. It's not Kevin Durant. It's not Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's not Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
It's Devin Booker. And then it's Karl Anthony Towns. That's so much money. And for the cap is projected to increase.
I think 11
the
million. I think
overall cap for NBA teams is projected to increase. But still, those contracts take up almost half the cap space for those one guy.
I'm wondering if they extended Cat knowing they would try to trade for Gobert, or they extended them and then thought about it afterwards.
Think about the money in that back court. I mean, that front court.
There's I think 3 centers all time to get that much money, and 2 of them on one team right now. I think,
and they might not even make it out of the second round.
They might, yeah. So they might not even make it out the first, depending on.
Oh man, I just feel like those teams might have handcuffed themselves.
Because I mean, they're limited on depth. I mean, I get, Anthony Edwards, young guy, D'Lo's not what he, I guess not what he once was, but he can still, do pretty good. But
well, now I know why DeAndre Ayton is gone.
Yeah,
that told me everything I needed to know right there. They won't have any money to pay him because they just gave Devin Booker the keys to the city. Right. But man. They're making more money per year than Nikola Jokic, who signed the biggest contract in NBA history. And I guess what makes their contracts a little more crazy to me than Bradley Beal, who signed a 5-year, $250 million contract. It's just the fact that we knew that Bradley Beal was probably going to get that money to begin with.
Right.
But we had no idea that Devin Booker and Karl Anthony Towns were going to be making the money that they got.
4-year, not 5. I believe.
Yeah, that's what I thought it said originally. I thought it said 5-year, 220. No, I was still 4. Like, whoa.
I saw 4, and I was like, yeah, it's worse than 5. 5 would have been a little bit better, but
man, I just feel like that might come back to bite those teams. But props to those guys for getting their money. Like I said, they're great players, but in my opinion, they're not tier 1. They're not on that tier of that type of money. But the Phoenix Suns and the Minnesota Timberwolves think so.
And like I said, they've been getting a few. I saw a post about it. A few vet minimum cheap guys, signing a few cheap guys. So Ayton could be on his way out, and they might be trying to get space or prepare for a Kevin Durant package for a Kevin Durant trade. So I don't know.
Hey, I hope that they prove me wrong by saying all this, because those are 2 guys that I love watching. Devin Booker is one of my favorite players in the league. Karl Anthony Towns I regard him as the best shooting big man of all time. But man, that money is just so crazy.
Yes.
So that's all I wanted to speak on that. I'll let that go. Hopefully it's not something we have to bring up in the future.
And watch,
I feel like it might be.
They're not even the top 5 seed next year if that happens.
Yeah,
that's going to blow up in their face.
Yeah. Thursday also featured a lot of signings. Free agency opened up Thursday at 5 o'clock.
I think it was like 38 or 50 in like the first hour and a
Ye-
half, I believe. It
Yeah,
was a
the
lot.
Woj and Shams notifications right as the hour turned to 5 o'clock, they were just
I was
one on top of the other,
Yeah.
just coming at supersonic speed. Um, Jacob, what was your most underrated signing from Thursday?
Underrated.
Yeah.
Hmm. I've heard a lot about this. I don't know if it'd be my top underrated, but it's one I can think of off the top. Milwaukee getting Joe Ingles.
Hmm.
I think I think it was a very cheap deal, I believe.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's 1 year,
yeah,
6.5 million. I think
yeah,
that was the deal.
6.4, I think. It was very cheap. And then you obviously add another shooter around Giannis. So that I think was a really good pickup. Because obviously we know how he can shoot pretty good, shoot the ball pretty well. But other than that, I'd have to say I'm not real sure. I mean, it's a few. It's just hard to pick from, I guess.
Yeah.
The few to
I'll
go off
go
of.
I'll go ahead and I'll give you mine. With the Los Angeles Lakers losing Malik Monk to the Sacramento Kings, um, I think to be able to salvage that with receiving Lonnie Walker, even though it's just for a year, I think that's a great pickup for the
Yeah.
Lakers. And there were many times last year I didn't watch very many San Antonio Spurs games, just because there wasn't really a reason to
Yeah,
last year.
rightfully so. Yeah.
But I would go look at a lot of their box scores, and Lonnie Walker would come off the bench, and there were several times where I saw him 25 points, 27
Yeah,
points,
so he didn't. I don't think he
23
just
points.
averaged that many. I don't think. I looked at the stats about it, but
He's
he,
just he's a spark plug.
yeah,
He's he's a spark plug, and he's a guy that they can bring off that bench or start if they need to. Who knows what, with everything still going on around that team, what their starting lineup will end up looking like. But I just like I like that pickup for them, to be able to salvage losing Malik Monk kind of out of nowhere.
yeah,
Um, I think Lonnie Walker's fits their team in a really good way. Another guy, who I really like, signed with the Denver Nuggets. That's Bruce
Bruce
Brown, Kevin
Brown, yeah,
Durant's teammate.
right,
For them to lose Monte Morris and Will Barton, especially Will Barton, who gives them a good jolt of perimeter defense. To pick up Bruce Brown is big in his stead as well.
Mhm.
Bruce Brown proved last year that he can really defend on the perimeter. He can hit corner threes, and he's a good guy to have around Nikola Jokic.
Yeah. They've added a lot of
I
depth this offseason so
yeah,
far.
I really like that pickup, and I'll give you one more.
One
A
more.
guy who probably is not known in NBA spheres, a guy who quietly had some of the best per 36 numbers in the NBA last year. Um, that's Isaiah Hartenstein.
Yeah, I was looking at him too. To
If you
the
haven't paid attention to Isaiah Hartenstein, I urge you to pay attention to him this next season. He's a backup center, signed with the New York Knicks, was with
Knicks.
the LA Clippers this past season. Um, just a grinder, gets on the glass, the offensive glass, putbacks, screens, sets great screens, and plays a good defense. The only downfall with him is foul trouble. And for the minutes that he plays, foul trouble isn't even that big of a pitfall because he's only on the floor for 20, 25 minutes a game.
Yeah,
He'll end the game with 4 or 5 fouls, most likely, but he's going to give you great defense, great screens, and he crashes that offensive glass. I thought that was a great pickup for the New York Knicks.
yeah, I think it was a very good pickup as a backup too.
Yeah. So those are my underrated signings. You had Jalen Brunson signed for the 4 years, 104 million to the New York Knicks, as expected.
Yeah, expected.
Seen a lot of mixed opinions about that. Jacob, what's your final take on Jalen Brunson so we can finally get off that topic?
He just has to prove that contract this year. I mean, he played really well last year. I think I, it could be an overpay, but for New York, I guess it's really good for New York considering all they've lost and I guess what they've been doing these last few years, but I think it can work out really well for them. They finally got their, franchise PG as they want to see it, but I guess they just have to prove that contract this next season.
Right. And it'll be interesting to see how he flourishes. I don't expect him to be the number one option on that team. I expect them to revolve things around RJ
RJ
Barrett
Barrett, yeah,
and probably Julius Randle still as well.
think he'll still be
Although
there.
I've seen him in trade
Yeah,
talks. But yeah, Jalen Brunson had a great year, had a great playoff run, and let's hope that he can continue his success in the Big Apple. His dad is on that coaching staff as an assistant coach, so
that was probably a
he's
big,
got
big pull to him going there too.
right. So we can finally get off that, and I guess to finish free agency in its bulk, I'll just ask you, Jacob, how you feeling? How are you feeling as a Philadelphia Sixers fan with the moves that y'all made?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up about our team. I like it so far. Really hope we can trade a few more pieces. Furkan Korkmaz, Matisse Thybulle. Um, hopefully Tobias Harris, but looks like it's not happening. Getting paid, I think 79, 76 million in the next 2 years. But he's been in a few packages with the Kings for Harrison Barnes. I think Terrence Davis. I've seen a few Matisse to Portland, your team, your territory. I doubt that'll happen now. Picking up Gary Payton. I doubt that'll happen. But
No, we don't need no more.
yeah. I think the only team left for him now is Dallas. But well, I hope Moore can pull something out of the sleeve. James Harden still hasn't signed his extension yet. So we're supposed to do it yesterday, I believe. And that never happened. So I don't know what's going on there. So hopefully we have some money to add a few more pieces. I think we still can use a vet minimum. And I also saw today there were talks inside the organization about Kyrie Irving, about
Really?
wanting to get Kyrie Irving, but I don't want him nowhere near us. He kind of something happens everywhere he goes, something happens. But just getting James Harden from Brooklyn and the whole situation they had, even when March 10th when they beat us by 30, the whole thing they had going on, Kyrie and
Kyrie was
James.
claimed to harden up.
Yeah, so the whole thing that was going on, I don't know why you would want that on our team. I don't even think Joel would want that, but we'll just have to see what happens for the hopefully trades come out here soon after Harden's extension, I guess. And it's still a bunch of pretty good players on the market left. So we'll see what he signs for, probably in the 30s. Have a little leeway left, but we'll just have to see how it ends up.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think it all depends on how much money James Harden will end up making. And after that,
And yeah, I believe
there's no telling with y'all, man.
yeah, I mean,
Y'all, Daryl Morey is probably the most perplexing GM in all of
yeah,
in all
and
of the basketball realm. I'd say professional sports, honestly.
maybe
But
we Philadelphia Rockets this year, Houston 76ers, whatever you want to call us. And I think all the Eric Gordon trade talks died down. I believe the salaries were going to match every package. I think none of the salaries were going to match. But other than that, I think PJ Tucker is a really good pickup, which I kind of figured we'd get him for James Harden. That'll add that, I guess, a bully they said we need. Bully we've
that
needed.
grit.
Yeah, the grit we've needed for the last few years. Shoot the corner pretty well. Guard, probably, guard probably the 1 through 4, maybe 5. Depends on who the 5 is. So I think that's a really good pickup for us. And Daniel House, another 3-and-D guard wing type of player. Didn't have real good numbers, I don't think, last year, but I want to say he shot 42% from 3. And we probably do need that. Either 42, 30, 39, around that range.
That's
So
good.
I like ours pickups and the rookie we got, Trevelin Queen, Houston Rockets. So I don't know what they're doing. He'll probably be on a 2-way contract, but just have to see how it goes. So how you feeling about Portland and their extensions?
I'll give my quick thoughts about Portland just because don't want to linger on it too long. Anthony Simons 4-year, $100 million contract. I love it. I said in the name your price game, I said that I would probably give him around 480 if we could. But 400 is fine. I think his potential is through the roof. I think he's a superstar. I think he has superstar potential. I think he is a star. Let me rephrase that before that gets taken out of context. But yeah, he's great. I think he'll be great alongside Damian Lillard, contrary to the beliefs of many. He shot 46% from three on catch and shoot threes last year. So I think I love his extension. The one that puzzled me is Yusuf Nurkic.
Yeah.
4 years, 70 million. Is I can concur with everyone else that is a little bit of an overpay. I thought that we shouldn't go over 460 for him, but he's with Clutch Sports, and Clutch Sports seems to always negotiate bigger contracts.
Yeah.
I'm glad we have him back, but the money is not sitting super right with me, especially for the injury history that he's dealt with. But I mean, when he's played and he's been healthy, he's been a 16, 11, almost 2-block guy. So hopefully we can get that guy instead of the injury riddled Yusuf Nurkic. And then with the guy we brought in, Gary Payton II. I love it. I love it. 3 years, 28 million. I think it's a steal. I was really surprised that the Warriors let him walk. I guess it makes more sense after seeing they signed Dante DiVincenzo, but he provides that grit for us that we desperately need in that backcourt, especially because Dame and Ant probably won't defend much at all. We have Josh Hart, who's a good defender, but Gary Payton, I regard as a top 5 guard on-ball defender. And that's really what we need. We need guys who can provide that gritty defense, especially in Chauncey Billups' scheme, who is built solely on grit. So I feel like he'll fit great. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to say with us. Does that make us a championship contending team? No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
We get you back in the playoffs, but
our trade talks with Kevin Durant have fizzled out. So as long as we're a playoff team, I'm cool.
Yeah,
I won't be expecting much. I just want to see us play fun, good basketball.
Yeah, we've been contenders the last few years, but this year I think slight increase because we haven't lost anybody except Danny Green. But so slight increase. Hopefully Joel can stay healthy. I guess that's our playoff hope right there. Him staying healthy and James Harden, not playing like he did last year against Miami. So as long as it don't fall apart like that, I feel like we can go pretty far this year.
Well, that's all for free agency. Like we said, there's still a few names out there who may be worth talking about if they sign before the next episode. We'll talk about them then. But I believe Jacob has a segment for us today to kind of finish off. So Jacob, go on ahead and explain your segment to us.
Just a little quick segment. Just rank these players. I got five young guards that I want you to rank. See what your thought process is on them.
Ooh, am I about to be exposed?
It could be. I just got a notification too. Goran Dragic signed with Chicago. Nice pickup, but I don't know. See what they're doing in Chicago.
Is that league shattering news?
Shams by Shams. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know.
League shattering right there.
Shattering? No, not at all. But yeah, you could do, I guess, who you think's better, build around, or overall. I'll say who's better overall.
I'm just gonna go off of who's the best right now. That's what I'm gonna go off of.
5 players. Got LaMelo Ball, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Darius Garland, DeJounte Murray, and De'Aaron Fox. Tried to make it a little hard, but could be easy. Depends on how you think about it, I guess.
So it's hard for me to rank players. I usually like to put them on tier lists. And
okay, yeah, we could do that if you want.
No. This is your segment. So I'll play along with your segment.
Okay.
I would have all of these guys on the same tier. But I guess 3 of these guys were all-stars last year.
Right.
So I'm gonna go from bottom to top. At number 5, as much as it pains me to say, because a few years ago I was this player's biggest proponent. I thought that he was a superstar in the making. And he's still young. He's still got time. All of these players are young.
Yes, yeah.
But I've got De'Aaron Fox at
De'Aaron
number
Fox.
5.
If
I've
he
got
got
De'Aaron Fox at number
if
5.
he got away from the Kings, I feel I don't know. It's just the Kings. I feel like if you play for the Kings, their career just goes down a little bit. But
Yeah. And last season was kind of a step back for him. Maybe not even a setback, but he didn't really take the step forward that a lot of us thought he would. Um, but the Kings chose to trade Tyrese Halliburton over him, so they still believe in his potential.
right,
Um, at number 4, I'll say Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I thought that he took a pretty significant step forward. I think defensively his potential is there. I think as that jump shot continues to develop, he can really be a force. And as the Thunder age and grow as a team, I think that he's a centerpiece for them to build around. So I've got him at number 4. Now
okay,
here's where things get tricky.
yeah,
The 3
3.
all-stars. I know off the top of my head who my number 3 is going to be. And that's LaMelo Ball. I've got LaMelo Ball at number 3. Offensively, as a playmaker and as a scorer, he's that guy. He can do that. He can shoot the ball more efficiently, but he's young. He's got time to develop his jump shot. But as a playmaker, I think that he is probably that's tough to say though. He's a top 2 playmaker on this list, in my opinion. But defensively, he doesn't really bring it. His size definitely makes him a tough guy to rank on this list because he's significantly bigger than every other guy. But I've got him at number 3.
Okay.
Oh man, this one is hard. Darius Garland or DeJounte Murray?
Yeah, I'll tell you, my 4 and 5 is the same as yours. I'll say that, or my 4, 5, and 4 is the same.
So, okay. Me personally, y'all don't attack me for this. This is my list. This is my opinion. At number 2, I've got DeJounte Murray. I've got DeJounte Murray at number 2, 21, 8, and 9. Led the league in steals, total steals this year. Defensively, he's the best player on this list by far. He's the best player on this list by far. Offensively, he can get to the basket. He's a great playmaker. Like we said in the last episode, his 3-point jump shot is not the greatest, but he can knock them down. He's got a little bit of a mid-range game. He's on a new team. So it will be interesting to see how his production, if it stays the same. I doubt that his scoring production stays the same just because he's on the team in the backcourt with Trae Young.
Yeah.
But man, I'm so high on Darius Garland. I have to have him number 1.
I'll say
I'm
that.
I'm so through the roof on Darius
I'll say
Garland.
my list.
I think Darius Garland has top 3 point guard in the league potential.
Yeah, I'll say my list is the same. I think I had LaMelo over DeJounte a little bit, just a little. But so mine was pretty close to that. I'll say I had Garland number 1.
You know who I think Darius Garland reminds me of?
Who?
I think he reminds me kind of Trae Young. I think playmaking and the way that he's able to manipulate off the pick and roll, especially with those crazy bigs that they've got over there.
Mm-hmm.
He shows me flashes of Trae Young. And I mean, Trae Young's only like 2 years older than him.
Yeah.
But man, I'm so high on Darius Garland. I think he's the best playmaker here. He's a great shooter. Defensively, and his size kind of knocks him down a little bit, but offensively, I think that he has the best potential here. And right now, I think that he's the best player.
Yeah, I will say I've never purposely watched the Cleveland Cavaliers game, but last year I watched a few. I loved watching them play. Him and Evan Mobley play. Jared Allen. I liked watching them play a lot last year.
Yeah, they were one of my top league pass teams as well.
I meant to ask you this earlier about the Minnesota trade. Offensively, how do you think Cat and Rudy will work?
Offensively?
Yeah.
Well, outside of setting screens, the only place where Rudy can really thrive is in the dunker spot. So I expect him to be the main screener
Yeah.
in that offense. The thing with Cat too is that he can handle the ball on the perimeter. It's not ideal, but he can. Um, and he likes to sit on that perimeter a lot as
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like especially now his game, offensive game, is definitely going to be based around the perimeter and around the mid range.
Hmm.
I don't know.
That's
I really don't know.
when that happened. That's what I was thinking about because Anthony Edwards. I mean, he's becoming that guy. So what I was thinking is him and Gobert run the pick and roll. D'Lo if he's still there, which I don't think will be a thing. Cat could kind of sit the three and be like the kick out guy.
Do they
If
want him to be like? Do they want that to be his main role though?
that's why
For
I
a guy
don't.
that they're paying $224 million over 4 years.
Yeah, I know. So I don't. I was confused about it because obviously Cat can shoot, he can finish. Rudy, paint that paint. That's it
He has the
almost.
highest offensive rating of all time.
So he can play in the paint, offensively. So I guess he could be the guy kind of on the block. Somebody drive in, throw a lob off the screen. If Cat fades instead of rolls, I mean, it's possibilities. It'll be fun to see how they guard, how other teams guard it. Then that kind of duo, I guess.
Yeah. Um,
It can cause
I,
it can cause matchups pretty well. It can cause a lot of matchups, I think.
yeah. I do expect Rudy to be the main screener, but I definitely am not a proponent of limiting Cat to a catch and shoot role,
Yeah,
although
that's
that's
what I
a
don't
role
think.
that he can thrive in and that he'll probably play a lot more this year than he has. But I don't like that, especially for the money they paid him.
Yeah,
I
that's why
don't.
I want your opinion on it because I don't. I'm interested to see how that's going to play out.
So I guess that's all we wanted to talk about today. Jacob, you got anything else you want to bring up?
That's all I got today. All the big free agency news we got so far. This free agency weekend, I guess you can call it.
Yeah. The last dominoes should be about falling by the time that we record the next episode. Not super big names left, but maybe some guys who can crack rotations and they might be worth mentioning. Um, but yeah, the bulk of free agency is done. It's been an eventful last few days. Thursday and Friday were a blast to sit in anticipation
Yeah,
for. Um, yeah. Um,
Miles Bridges would be a fun thing to keep an eye on too. See what happens there. I mean, he might be done, but
he might be cooked, bro.
yeah,
He might be done.
they pulled his offer too. So I guess gotta see how that plays out.
Yeah. Who in the world knows what's going to happen with him? But yeah, if that's all that we want to talk about today, I guess we'll sign out and we'll see y'all in the midweek.
Yep.
Peace out.
See y'all.